How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. Tonight, we are doing another segment on Get to Know That Cosplayer, and we're actually doing our first video chat interview. I'm here with Steve, also known as Shit Spackled Muppet Fart. How are you doing tonight, Steve?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm doing well. How are you, Wayne?
Pretty good. All the
It's
way
a
from Vancouver, you said, right?
Vancouver, British Columbia. Yeah.
So this is our second um, international cosplay interview. So again, thank you.
Wow. Worldwide.
It's slowly expanding.
You,
So before we begin, how did you come up with the name?
actually, this is from Deadpool. And there's a line in Deadpool where he says, "You only work for that shit spackle Muppet fart."
I
And
think I vaguely remember Ali just saying that when
it blew me away. It just cracked me up in the cinema. I was there, a good friend of mine, Jamie, and we sat there. This came out of his mouth, and typical Ryan Reynolds Deadpool style, it made no sense, and it just cracked me up. And since that day, it had to be that way. It had to be that way. I took on that name.
it's pretty cool. It's pretty clever for sure.
And when you just want to bring smiles to people's faces, what better thing than that? I mean, I'm sure
Oh,
it's got me nowhere in a pertaining to get invited places for cosplay, because I'm sure nobody enjoys introducing shit spackled Muppet fart. But
I mean,
uh,
it's pretty unique for sure.
yeah, it's hard to forget that one. It's
So,
hard to say that one.
oh, I mean, I believe it. So to begin, how long have you been cosplaying for?
I've been cosplaying since 2017.
So about 5, 6 years now.
I guess. I mean, I don't even know what year we're on now, to be honest with you, Wayne. I
20
mean,
2021. So 18, 19,
wow, is
four
it
years,
really?
four
Yeah,
years
that's
now.
yeah. I mean, I've always loved making costumes. I've always been into it since I was a kid, and Halloween was a thing. I mean, I grew up in England. I'm originally from the UK, and Halloween was nowhere near as big as it was in North America. But I used to just look forward to Halloween to make a costume and get out and do some crazy stuff in some crazy costume. And it's definitely been in the blood, just the creativity and the making something. I was definitely a go to the closet and make a Halloween costume rather than a go out and buy one kind of guy.
So you've been making your own costumes and everything for a pretty long time then.
Pretty long time. In fact, when I first moved to Canada, I came in October, I think it's 2005, and everything was packed up in a container. You're moving across to a different country, so you only travel lightly. The rest of it's coming later on in a container. But I packed and made sure I packed a Halloween costume because I was going to spend my first week in Vancouver over Halloween, and I wanted to get dressed up. I think I
Hey,
went as a dead pirate that year.
nice. So do you remember when you first started getting into cosplay back in 2017? Do you remember what your very first convention in cosplay was?
Absolutely. I mean, it was it's a pinnacle time in life. It was a massive turning point in life. I mean, in 2017 was the first con I went to was San Diego Comic-Con. And I went there with my now wife, and it was the first time we kind of went for a big convention. She was used to it by that point, and it seemed to be second nature for her. But San Diego was a mecca for me. That was something that I didn't think I would ever get to go to. I remember it so well. It was an amazing thing to actually be there in San Diego and be there at that thing that you'd only ever seen on TV, and in a small dose because they didn't really cover it that well. So yeah, it was incredible. And the first time I actually dressed up in costume, and I previously to getting into cosplay, I joined the 501st Legion, and
I've heard
I'm
of
a
them. They're pretty big stormtrooper group. I've especially heard of them. I've heard of them on Instagram.
well, yeah. I mean, the 501st Legion is primarily a charitable organization of Star Wars cosplayers on the Imperial side. The bad guys doing good is their motto. And I've just been a massive Star Wars fan since I can remember, and I've always wanted my own stormtrooper outfit. So
Hence the
it
one in the
was
background.
yes, hence the one in the background. So to have that was a goal I wanted to achieve. But yeah, getting into cosplay from that, it just opened up a totally different world for me. I mean, it's great being able to get into costume and do stuff for charity and raise money and bring smiles to people's faces. But once I started to get into doing whatever I liked this cosplay, with no rules, regulations, or telling you what you can and can't do, sort of respect, you're free to create whatever you want in your own mind. And that's what really pulled me into cosplay. Is it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. It doesn't matter if anyone recognizes your costume. If you're feeling good in it and you feel good with what you created, man, that's more than anything. So what I did on my first trip out was, I think that was just at the time. You ever heard of Preacher? Preacher is a graphic novel.
I've heard of like the TV show.
Yeah, so the TV show, the graphic novel is very, very out there, very non for kids. But the TV show is cool too. The TV show had just come up. I like the graphic novel, and I created the Jesse character from the comic book, not so much the TV. And I loved it. So I went out in that, and it wasn't until I got to Comic Book Row that people started recognizing and seeing the similarities to the comic book. So I don't think anyone had a clue I was walking around a con floor. But it wasn't until I got to Comic Book Row that people were like, yay, there he is. It was great. It was a great feeling. It was a great feeling.
It sounds like you got recognized quite a bit once you walked down Comic Book Row at the con.
Yeah. Cigarette hanging out the mouth and the preacher collar on. It was pretty good.
So I imagine San Diego Comic-Con being for your first con was a bit of a culture shock for you.
Yeah. What an amazing event. What an amazing event. It takes it out of you, man. It takes it out of you. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to take in. There's a lot you can't do. There's a lot of people. It's just overwhelming.
Oh, I mean, I imagine it's like probably one of the biggest cons in California.
I'd say it's probably one of the most well-known cons in the world, to be honest with you.
Oh, most definitely. I've heard stories from a guy I interviewed a while back saying he's been going since like 1999. So, I mean,
yeah, and it's hard to get tickets. It's really hard to get tickets. It's almost like a lottery system in effect. Once you get a ticket, you feel like you won the lottery. It's very, very hard to get tickets, and if you got them before, you actually qualify to get them again. So there's no passing of the buck in that respect. So, yeah, man, not easy thing to get to, but well worth it if you can.
How did you and Allie come about getting tickets for the con?
She was doing an appearance. She was actually going to be a guest. She was doing a talk, so she was going to be a speaker at one of the halls, talking about, I can't remember what it was now. That's terrible of me. Right? I'm going to hear it about that. I can't remember what it was. I know she was up on stage with some producers and things like this, talking about, I can't remember what it was. I was in shock and awe and very proud of her being up there doing it. But that luckily gave her the opportunity to come in with a guest. So that's how we were able to get it.
Hey, I mean, I imagine it's nice having a wife who's, well known in the cosplay community too.
Yeah, it's good in some respects. I mean, at that time, we were just dating at that time. But it's an eye opener to see the interaction, to see the enthusiasm from the fans. I wasn't sure, and honestly, I wasn't sure in the first time I knew about it how I was going to feel about it. We actually met at a convention. It wasn't from that moment onwards. There's a period in between that we started to get to know each other and kind of realize where it could go. But we actually met at a convention. She was a guest at that convention, and I was up there doing a 501st appearance, and we kind of just met and hit it off, and just.
And the rest is basically history.
Yeah. You kind of gel with someone and you get to know them a bit better, and look at what it led to. It was a crazy experience, and conventions and cosplay has got everything to do with that. If it wasn't for that, we would never have discovered each other and what we mean to each other. So.
I mean, I've taken a look at your Instagram, and you've cosplayed quite a few characters. I think one of the ones I recognized the most was Corbin Dallas from Fifth Element.
What a great movie, timeless movie. And again, that's how cool it can be to just portray one of the characters you love, right? And she did, Ali was Lilu, I was doing Corbin. And it's funny to walk around as the pair, because hardly anyone is going to recognize Corbin, because you don't see a lot of Corbins. And of course, everybody, all you can hear is
Lilu,
multi-pass.
He's really well known.
Chicken is good. Yeah, all that stuff. But that was great, actually. That was the first, we made that costume in kind of a rough format, and we went to LA Comic-Con with it. And then after LA Comic-Con was WonderCon coming up, and we decided to go into the masquerade at Comic-Con. WonderCon. And I just totally transformed and redid that costume from scratch. The first time I went out and bought a sewing machine, and I made the pants from scratch. And I'm such an anal idiot that I got the 4K version of Fifth Element. We must have watched it, I do not know how many times.
You wanted to get
I
it like exact as it looked in the
I can't
movie.
help it. I can't help it. It's not that, it's just something in me. If I'm going to do it, I just want to do it. And
I
I was
mean,
pausing the video and taking pictures and finding out stuff I never knew existed with those pants. And yeah, I loved every minute of it and just created it all from scratch. And we went in and we actually got Judge's Choice Award on that competition, which was again
Nice.
another amazing addition to this continuing journey in cosplay. Which just it's never a dull moment, man.
Kind of a
Never a
go
dull
big or
moment.
go home moment.
I was blown away. I didn't expect it whatsoever. It was just a bunch of friends getting together and having a really good time. And at the end of the night, to get that was, I think it took us all by surprise and took a while to settle in. But man, we'll take it. It was so cool to entertain people and just see the laughter and get up there and have a great time. And props to everyone that came on there and did that with us. There were some really cool costumes, amazingly cool characters, and a great time on stage.
Yeah, it's always good to hear. Now, kind of in that line of questioning, what would you say your toughest build was? Like the cosplay that took you the longest to make?
Oh, I would, without a doubt, would be Cable from Deadpool 2. I started piecing that one together when I first saw the thing we got given of Josh Brolin playing Cable. That we had this picture sent out of him with the weapon across his shoulder, and that was the kind of first picture I saw, and I was like, oh man, I want to do that. That's awesome, because Cable from the comic book has just been larger than life, and Rob Liefeld's creation is just guns and bombs and pouches and huge great pieces of armor. So to see that was like, oh, that's kind of something we could do. But I just couldn't get the arm right. I wasn't happy with the arm. It was started off as a Winter Soldier, and it was too Winter Soldier. So now I wanted to do it so I could actually move it, but I didn't want to see the crack in the middle. And it took me about 2 years from seeing that picture to actually being happy that I wanted to wear it. It took me about 2 years.
But I'm sure those 2 years were definitely worth it to try to get it as screen accurate as possible.
I know, and people are probably going to hate me for that, and it's just about having fun. But I do have fun with it. But I just want to. It's a challenge. To me, it's a challenge. If you're going to create something and make something, why not challenge yourself? And that's just me. I like to challenge myself, and not to take away from any of my brother Cables out there or anything like that. Every one of them is awesome, and everybody looks cool. And I want to see with the Cables. I want to see the same thing with the Deadpools. I want to see an abundance of Cables out there at conventions to take on all that abundance of Deadpools. I think that's the best.
That'd be pretty cool to see. I'm kind of picturing that now. That'd be
Yeah.
So
you could just imagine them playing off against each other. But that one took me a really long time, just for me being unhappy with what I got, and I couldn't make it functional enough for me to want to go out and wear it.
I mean, it's understandable. You want to make sure not only does it look good, but also feels good to walk in, so there's no mishaps or anything. Which actually brings me to my next question. Have you ever had any cosplay mishaps, like something ripped, torn while you were at the con or getting ready?
Oh, I know that arm plays me around. I mean, it's always bits are always popping out of it when I move it too much, or some of the cables that go up inside the other cables to allow me to move will always be popping out. Mishaps in a terrible way though. I don't think I've had anything split or fall off me, which is kind of good. I think the biggest mishap I've always had was when I first started wearing my Stormtrooper outfit, was not doing up the connection on the cod piece to the butt. And that's always embarrassing because you've got this armor on and you can't even sit down, bend your arms very properly. And now you've got to try and find somebody that will volunteer to get up in there and put that flapping around strap between your codpiece and your butt. That's a little bit embarrassing every now and then. But
I imagine the guys who played as the actual Stormtroopers in the original trilogy probably had the same issue.
Oh yeah. If you look into all of that, they were all over the place back in '77. Bits falling off here, there, everywhere.
So your Stormtrooper armor in the background, what material is that made from?
That's ABS plastic. So it's vacuum formed ABS plastic.
I've never heard of that before. Mind going into some detail about that?
So ABS plastic. I don't know the details or the structure of it, but it's just a sheet of white plastic which can be manipulated with heat. And what happens is these guys that make this type of armor, there's a couple of people out there that have got some really good bucks or molds, if you like, that they use to heat up this sheet of plastic. And when it's at a certain consistency, they bring it down over the buck or the mold, and then they apply a vacuum to it, and it pulls the plastic around the mold and gives you a really good detailed, piece.
I
And
mean,
then you,
that looks pretty screen accurate from where I'm sitting.
yeah. No, it's definitely got some accuracy to it. And you just take that plastic piece, you trim it down, and you then make it to fit you. So every piece you just scale down and make it fit you, and then try and get the accuracy there so that you all look the same. You all look the same, and that's what really works with what the 501st does, is they try and just make it, doesn't matter who's in that armor, doesn't matter where you are, which country you're in, it's always going to look the same, and kids are just going to know that the Imperial troops are out there looking for them. So
Well, definitely shout out to the 501st Legion.
absolutely, yeah, do an amazing job across the world and just do so much good, raising so much money. It's a lot of fun. It's a huge family around the world of people, like-minded people.
I mean, I've heard about them a few years ago and didn't realize what they were, and then I heard about it and was like, oh, that's pretty neat what they do.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, just if you're a big Star Wars nerd, it's kind of like the place you want to be and be involved with, and just make costume after costume. But for me, it's always just been about the Stormtrooper. I also have a Cantina Band Bith, which I like to wear, which is interesting.
A what?
The Cantina Band from Star Wars.
Oh yeah.
The guys that play the funny instruments, where they look like basically a big turkey on your head.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's another fun one.
You've done one of those too?
Yeah, I didn't make the costume myself. I actually purchased the mask and hands, but it's a lot of fun to go out there and hang out and play the tune. Just carry a speaker and play the tune for everyone's entertainment. It's all about entertainment, man. At the end of the day, it's really all about entertainment.
Bringing joy and all that stuff.
Yeah, you can't take it too seriously. And again, when I talk about doing the accuracy, it's not because I'm super serious. And it's just, for me, if you get it right, it's instantly recognizable. It brings a smile quicker, and it's just the way it is for me. I just can't help but do it.
Nothing wrong with that. Now, for those who are considering and wanting to make their own cosplay builds, like how you've been doing, any advice to first-time cosplay builders who want to start like a big project?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds really easy to say it, but go for it. I mean, there's so much help available for you on YouTube and places like that. The first thing I did when I started to know how to work with foam, EVA foam, for example, or any of these mediums that you can build cosplays out of, I just researched YouTube, and I came across Evil Ted Smith, who is an amazing foam smith and has so many hints and tips and patterns for you to try out, and video footage of how to do it. And Bill Duran, or Punish Props, another one who is a fantastic foam smith and super generous with just feeding you information so you can do it yourself. So definitely get on YouTube. I call it the University of YouTube. It's just a way of learning in the comfort of your own home, and it doesn't really cost you anything. And these guys really do give up some invaluable information. So definitely do some research and then just go for it. Try it out, and I think a lot of the time, again, going back to what it looks like, for me, I've got my own demons to challenge, but I can tell you that if you go out there and you're feeling good on it, people are going to recognize your character, and people are going to see it and get it, and they're going to want to take a picture with you, and they're going to love it. So never really sort of hold back on whether you want to get out there and use it or not. I know it sounds funny after what I just said, but the joy of making it and the joy of wearing it far outweighs that worry at the end of it. So just go for it, build it, just try it.
I remember a few years ago when the new trilogy Star Wars films came out at the movie theater, this guy came in like probably the most screen accurate Darth Vader. It was really well done. So it's like I have to give props, maybe pun intended here, but I have to give props to those who were willing to make screen accurate cosplays, whether it's from a video game or a movie, TV show, whatever. Like
yeah. It's a lot of work that goes into it, and everything starts at some stage, and then you just improve it after that, and improve it after that. I mean, I used to get super excited. I brought like a Ruby's Stormtrooper outfit one year for Halloween, and it came with a ridiculously plastic helmet.
I remember
fabric armor pieces. But man, I didn't care. I had the time of my life, and I was going down the street, and everyone was shouting Stormtrooper, and I even remember wearing it up on the slopes on New Year's Day and went snowboarding in it. And it just brought so much joy and fun to everyone, right? So
you were snowboarding in it?
just in this, it's just a fabric. It's like a fabric pullover costume, you know,
Oh,
and
no, that's pretty cool.
yeah, you just have so much fun with it. But yeah, just definitely look into YouTube if you're starting out and you're not sure. Check and then reach out and ask questions. That's the other thing I found as well, is that there's a lot of people out there that are quite receptive to you asking questions. If you find someone's costume that you really like and you want to know how they did it, reach out, and a lot of people will share that information to get you going and push you along.
Nice. That's really good sound advice. Now, do you have any future builds that you're willing to share?
Oh,
Like you're like just like if you like name like one or two that you would like you're in the midst of working on, would love to work on.
well, I'm going to openly admit I've procrastinated and hit a slump for probably a year when we got into this,
Oh
you know,
man, yeah.
restriction part of our lives, and you know, it just was really hard to sit down in the workshop and crack on with some stuff. I mean, I'm a big fan of Archer, the animated Archer series on FX, and so I just recently completed doing one of the characters from that, and that took me a while to get into that and actually get the enthusiasm. But coming up, I really want to do something for Star Wars Celebration in May. I mean, knowing that
Next
it's
May.
looking like we're going to be able to do this, it's looking like it's going to be, you know, what we all want to get back into. So I want to build something different for that, and have some fun with that. Um, I'm trying to build Pirate Deadpool, and I've got all of the fabric and the patterns and the bits and pieces that I need. And again, it's just a question of spreading out the patterns and cutting the fabric and going to town on this and trying to make this huge great pirate jacket, and then tear it up and make it look tatty and go out as Pirate Deadpool. That's going to be one that I'm looking forward to doing.
Nice. I mean, I'm sure, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate when it comes to big projects that it's time consuming and it takes time to
Yeah,
get every
yeah.
individual piece, set. And then I imagine, I mean, I have no experience in that, but I imagine there's a process when it comes to bigger cosplays.
Yeah, I mean, it's starting at one point and then working your way to where you want to be. I mean, that sounds obvious, but um, the difficulty is finding the stuff you want. I mean, fabrics, etc., and the additions to it, and just finding the right color of a fabric is hard to do. And once you finally found it, now you've got a start point. Finding the pattern you want to follow. Is it going to be what you want it to be? And then find that pattern. I mean, it's taken me a while to accumulate what I need to try and even start this project. And now I got to a point where I can actually start. I still haven't found a pirate hat I like. I don't know if I'm going to do cutlasses or katanas. I'm not sure, you know, but I just recently went to a sale of props that a shop was doing. They were doing like a yard sale of props to clear out their stock before they open up a new shop. And I found all these little pirate flintlocks. So I bought some of those. And I tell you what I love to do is I love to go to thrift stores. And I love to go to thrift stores and walk around thrift stores with a cup of coffee and then find stuff. You know, you can find Nerf guns, you can find toys, you can find all these bits and pieces, especially older stuff that looks like something, and just snap it up for a very cheap price and keep it in your box of get to later. Because you find a broken Nerf gun, or if you find a scope, or if you find something that you can make something of, is that if you can see it, grab it, and then one day you're going to say, oh, that's why I got that. I can
Oh,
use that.
no, thrifting is, I'm actually, you actually answered my next question is, what are your thoughts on thrifting for your cosplays?
Love it. Love it. I absolutely love it. If you get an idea, I mean, me and Ali once, I came into town. She said, "Do you want to go on a game show? We got the opportunity to go on Let's Make a Deal." I'm like,
Really?
"Oh, hell yeah, let's do it." But we got to dress up. So we couldn't think on what to do, and we ended up just going as burritos. We bought some fabric, we brought some felt, and then some one of those thermal
I love
blankets.
it.
I flew into LA, and I think I got there at 10:30 at night, and then we stayed up all night and made burritos and poked some holes in there. And then the next day we went down there and spent the whole day in the studio to be on Let's Make a Deal, dressed as burritos.
I love it.
Nuts. But yeah, but building it out of scraps and building it out of thrift stores, building it out of something, closet cosplay is fantastic, I think.
Especially if you're
It's
on
a
a
lot of fun.
especially if you're on a budget too.
Yeah, I mean, you can find pants and shirts and things like this in thrift stores that you can just then go to town on and make look like what you want it to look like.
Most
I
definitely.
remember doing Corbin Dallas, for example, that orange vest. I mean, it doesn't exist. It was made out of a rubber, like a silicone rubber. And like, how do you do that? So we spent ages trying to find an orange, I don't know what you would call it, corrugated orange fabric. It doesn't exist. So yeah, that
Not
was,
never heard of something like that. I mean, that tank top he wears, it's like I've never seen anything like it, and I've seen
yeah,
the movie like quite a few times.
yeah. Jean-Paul Gaultier was the guy behind all the costumes, and they literally, from what I can tell, is they made a silicone vest, and that's what he wore. It's like a rubber vest. Never gonna find that. But what we did is we in the thrift store we found a a top that looked right, and then just painted it with orange fabric paint, and it did the job. Did the
I
job.
mean, from what like I said, from the pictures I've seen of you and Allie, and then just the separate ones of you, it's like, I mean, from cutting your hair to shaving and everything.
Yeah, that's another thing that cracks me up. I mean, epic fails. I don't think it's an epic fail, but an epic. If I was to think of an epic costume, it was doing Frankenfurter from Rocky Horror Show, and I was like, why not? Let's just do this. It's something we wanted to do. Was Frank and Janet from Rocky Horror Show, and I got into town and I shaved off a very full beard from a winter in Canada. And then Ali did the makeup on me. And then the next minute I'm in women's underwear in a pair of 10-inch high heels, strutting around Los Angeles Comic Con. Honestly, never, nothing, something I thought I would never do in my life was strut around a convention in women's underwear.
I mean, if you're wanting to cosplay that accuracy, I mean, you have to make that sacrifice. I mean, I remember
dude.
doing a cosplay that I remember doing Joker, and it required my face getting painted, so I had to like shave just to make sure, when the face paint got put on, it's like there's no stubble or anything. So I mean, sometimes you got to make that sacrifice to cosplay that one character.
Yeah, and it's worth it. It's so worth it. And then as long as you can get some pictures, you'll always remember it, and it'll always bring a smile to your face.
Oh no.
Yeah, just always got to take a shave and then have some blonde hairspray to spray in my hair to do the Corbin Dallas. In fact, we traveled to New Zealand. We went to New Zealand. We wanted to go to New Zealand to do like the Lord of the Rings nerdy tour in a camper van, and we did that. But because New Zealand this was when we were literally touring conventions. 2018, 2019, we just said, let's do this. This is fun. But let's spend our money on doing this rather.
So you guys did like a convention tour around the world?
Almost. I mean, we didn't go to every country, but we knew we wanted to go to New Zealand. But we packed cosplays. We actually took Lilu and Corbin with us, and hooked up with, like I say, the expanded family of the 501st. Got some friends in New Zealand. There was a convention happening called Armageddon Con in Auckland, New Zealand. And we just went there for a day. We packed our cosplays in a little tiny case, and then we unraveled them. I sprayed my hair, had a shave, and off we went to the convention. It was nuts to take that far a trip and take a cosplay with you just to go.
That's, I mean, that's pretty cool being able to, like, because I know not a whole lot of cosplayers who live in the States can just like say, hey, let's just go out and do that. But the ones who can, I feel like that's a whole new world to them.
Yeah. There's so many cool places to try and get to, and rather than, I don't know, I would rather spend my money on doing that because of everything you get into than going to sit on a beach somewhere, which is great, but I'd rather go somewhere and do that. Like if I can time a visit to a country that's got a convention that you've heard about. It's every convention is the same when you go in that hall and you have all the vendors and they have all the toys that you're not going to buy, but you end up buying. And then, the one thing I found with Armageddon Comic Con is they had so much more outside of the hall. They had like an airsoft tent where you could go in and play airsoft. They had the carnival rides. They had all sorts of stuff going on outside. It was incredible.
Making it sound like Disneyland there for a minute.
Yeah. It was incredible, man. It was incredible. And then, I would love to do that again. I hope in all my heart that we can get back into the same thing we had before this.
I'm looking forward to this. I've seen a lot of cons are slowly opening up. I'm hoping like by next year to just go to quite a few more cons around here in California. So we're about done, almost done here. Any last minute advice you'd like to throw in there?
It's difficult. It's difficult right now because of this, coming out of this, what we've just been through.
Almost a year, a good year, almost 2 years.
It's 14 months of just isolation and pure like I don't
Hell.
know. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of is, but just stay focused, man. Just stay focused on what you know and love, and it will come back. And the thing I had to fight with is I've been through this. What's the point? What's the point of me sitting down and making this? Blah blah blah. What was the point? And I had to get over that. And as soon as I sat down at my desk and started to make something, that went out the window. And before I know it, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm still there sanding something down or trying to paint something. Just don't lose sight of what makes you happy and keep doing it, because it's going to come back in one shape or form or whatever. And yeah, I've been struggling with imposter syndrome type thing. Like, why am I doing this? Is it any good? I really struggled with that for a while. And again, you just got to get over the other side of that. And it's easier said than done. But once you do, pick up the tools, start that job, start that cosplay that you said, I'll never be able to do that. Just start it.
One
Learn
step at a
something new.
time.
Yeah, one step at a time. Get onto YouTube, learn something new and try it. And then when you find you really like it, you just keep going and going and going until you get to be the point you're good at it.
And I'm sure whoever watches, this episode or any previous episodes I've done will definitely learn a lot too. Because
Yeah.
I've definitely, from doing this series, I've definitely learned a lot that I never knew. And same with other people I've been heard from. But no, again, that's some really sound advice. With COVID finally being almost over, for those who wanted to go back to their convention or their first convention, they can actually do so.
Yeah. Yeah. And over in North America, there and in States and stuff, you're lucky that that's starting to happen. It's starting to happen, and we're seeing, because it's going to take us a while to get back into life, let
Oh
alone
yeah,
not
no.
just conventions, but just life. It's going
Doing
to take
just
us a while
doing what
to,
you used to
yeah,
do before this. Oh no, definitely. Like
yeah, you got
I'm
to feel
I'm
comfortable.
I'm glad to see things are slowly going back to normal, especially
Mm.
like in the con and cosplay scene. Like I'm glad to see people like sharing their cosplays that they're gonna want to do soon and everything.
Yeah, yeah, and just slowly get back into it, but don't give up on it. Don't give up on it. And then props to the guys that have done all the. I gotta stop saying guys. I think nowadays I've got to change guys to something else.
People,
I'm doing podcasts and things like this, and I keep popping it out. And you
hey,
know,
it happened like this. This series is not scripted.
I grew up with the Goonies. Everyone's guys in my eyes.
Hey,
Once you're a Goonie, you're a Goonie.
Goonies for life.
But the people that have put on these virtual events under such kind of hardships and not knowing how it's going to go down, fair play to them. Props to them.
Oh yeah, no,
And
definitely props to these digital conventions and everything.
yeah, it's kept it alive, and it's let people see that there are people out there still doing this. The people that you look up to and follow are still out there giving content, and it's yeah, fair play to them. They've kept it going in some respect and in one way or another, and I think they need to have a tip of the hat, sir.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Again, Steve, thank you for coming on and being my first virtual interview for Cosplay Con Talks to get to know that cosplayer. Really appreciate it. Definitely learned a lot, and I'm hoping those who watch this will like definitely learn some new things, because I definitely learned a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I do tend to talk a lot, as you can tell.
Hey,
But hopefully we got through the questions. But yeah,
oh no,
happy
we did. Like, no, I really appreciate it. I'm hoping to do more of these in the future because obvious reasons.
well, right on. Hopefully we'll see you at a convention at some point, and you can do it live from a convention. And then,
That's the plan. That's the plan.
yeah.
Again, I'm Wayne the Unknown, joined here by shit speckled Muppet fart.
Yeah, oh, you got it right the first time, brother.
Don't mean thank you for watching Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer. Until next time, thank you for listening and thank you for watching.